Hello, everybody. I'm delighted to be joined by you today. We're going to have a lovely discussion about trends in colored gem set jewellery. I'm delighted to be joined by some very distinguished and well-known figures in the global world of jewellery. Let me start off by introducing you today to Bina Goenka. Hello, Bina.
Hi, David. Hello, everybody.
Hi there. Bina is a very well-respected high jeweler from India. She has her own standalone boutique in the Grand Hyatt, Mumbai. She creates wonderful bespoke pieces of high jewelry for very high-end customers all around the world. And she loves working with exquisite colored gemstones. We're delighted to have Bina with us today. I would also like to introduce everybody to Alexander Davis. Alexander Davis is a very well-known British jewellery designer. He won the UK Jewellery Designer of the Year award in 2017, and he won the Best New Designer award in 2010. He has a boutique, a standalone boutique on Duke Street, very near Selfridges in Mayfair in London, and also works extensively with colored gemstones and with diamonds, and has often been inspired by science in his creations. So we're delighted to have Alexander with us today. And thirdly, we have Paola De Luca. Paola De Luca is extremely well known in the global industry as a creative director and analyst. She is founder of her own company, The Futurist, which provides creative intelligence across the luxury spectrum to high-end clients. And many in the jewelry world will know her from the Vicenza fair, where she has been the creative director and publisher for many years of the Trend books. And the next edition of the Trend book will be launched at the September edition of Vicenza Oro in the middle of next month. So I'm so happy to have you with us. So welcome, everybody.
Thank you, David, for having us.
Very good. So we're going to kick on now. I'd just like to say to the audience, please do ask questions right through this session. Please use the Q&A button, and we'll be delighted to curate those questions. Please do identify yourself if possible. I think that's much better if you do. And then we will identify you and put forward your questions. And I think that will make the discussion much more interactive. I'd like to kick off the discussion by asking the very big question, the central question really, which is, what are the key trends in colored gemstone set jewellery? What is hot and maybe what is less hot? And so if I could just ask first, Bina, what are your thoughts on this?
So David, I've always, from the start of my career, worked with colored gemstones. So be it rubies, sapphires and everything, even a piece of wood or stone. So what I wanted to say is that it's lovely to see color in jewelry. The trends that I see going forward, I'm seeing more and more color. I see people replacing diamonds with color, and color being a dominant part of the necklace or the earring or something. So it's not like it was 20 years ago where you saw only diamonds and no color. But I see, like in my work itself, you'll see that I use every color imaginable. And there is nothing that I think is, too much for me.
So could I ask you, Bina, could I ask Avanti in the background to show us the pelican cuff image which you created, which is now, as we speak, on display at the American Museum of Natural History. Could you just tell us a little bit about this piece and also tell us about the colored gemstone composition of the piece?
So what you see here, David, is mother of pearl, Keishi pearls, brown diamonds in many colors, white diamonds and emeralds, gold, and that's it. So this was one of my very, very first pieces, this and my most famous gecko. But the gecko was put out to the world, but this was always with us. It was never shown. It has just come out now. And it's like a bracelet. It sits on your hand, like these two are standing, and their wings are en tremblant, and the heads move left to right. And it's actually about two lovers who meet, greet, fight, chat, and, are together. So that was the whole story. And the most interesting part about this is when you wear this bracelet, it's open in the center, but yet there is so much movement that I don't think you can take away from the visual of it being on your hand, because it's like vertical and horizontal. It's completely three-dimensional. And this was one of my boldest pieces at that time. And I didn't realize that that is the trajectory my career is going to take. And I'm going to be, as it is when I entered jewelry, I did not want to do what was already being done. So I initially started with a very avant-garde kind of number of pieces. And I soon moved to these kind of pieces, which are like, they're historical, literally. There's nothing going to replace that. And in this, you see that I've not used big diamonds. I've not given anything any importance, but it's just the beauty and the art of the piece.
Well, thank you so much. They're beautiful pieces. If I could direct the question next to Alexander Davis. Alexander, what do you see as the key trends in color gemstone set jewellery? What is hot? What is less hot?
I too have been using gemstones my whole jewellery career, and I'm really keen on adding colour and vibrancy to all the pieces that I make. And so it's almost like I feel like I've been there in this trend for a long time, and finally that's caught up with where I'm at, because I've always wanted to introduce a lot of colour into things. And I think now that we've transitioned from a lot of pieces of jewelry being very, very white, very diamond based, very white metal based, now I think across the board we're seeing a lot more colour. We're seeing yellow gold is more prominent, and coloured gemstones are more prominent. And this is really playing into what I've been wanting to do with my jewellery for a while. So there's a lot of gemstones that I'm getting inquiries for, from everything from the more primary gemstones like emerald and rubies and sapphires, to more unusual things like Paraiba tourmaline, other tourmalines, garnets, even things that people maybe would have previously regarded to be semi-precious, low-value stones, things like amethyst and topaz. Have really, I've seen a bit of a resurgence of those. So there's, it's exciting times for gemstone jewelry.
Yeah, and are you seeing more demand for engagement rings now with featuring colored gemstones? And again, and if so, what type of gemstones and engagement rings?
Well, again, I've been lucky because I've been doing gemstone engagement rings for quite a few years, and many years ago, I've done made rings with sapphires, like maybe dark sapphires, maybe Australian sapphires and things like that. And so I'm still continuing to do that. Obviously, when it comes to engagement rings, they need to be strong gemstones. You can't use the softer things. You can't use tanzanite really. There's a lot of stones you might not want to use.
So sapphires would have a premium in that market segment.
Definitely. Sapphires are really, at the moment, I think they're kind of the gemstone that you see most on the marketplace, and in all sorts of colours as well. They're very adaptable sapphires because they come in so many different colours, and they're very, very strong. You can solder around them. You can even potentially cast with them in place. So they're very versatile. They're not hugely expensive unless they are really premium ones. And so they're very useful in jewellery.
Very good. So turning to Paola, you're sort of sitting back in the world of jewellery, looking at the outlook globally. What are your thoughts on key trends in coloured gemstone set jewellery? What do you see as hot or less hot? And what are your thoughts on the engagement segment of the market as well?
Thank you, David. I'll give I would say what is an analyst overview, which might not be as poetic, but is good for business. Okay, I would divide the family, let's say the gemstones direction in three main directions. Number one, I would say the black and white combination meaning could be black and white diamonds, or, you know, whatever stone is very strong in a certain segment of the market. It's very important, first of all, to give an overview. We have to talk about, you know, collectors market, meaning high jewelry. And we have to talk about medium segment of the market. So it's completely different markets and different customers and audience. Bina being, for instance, on the high end of the market, Alexander maybe being in the medium high end of the market. And so they're representing two different kind of customers, one of a kind versus other, you know, limited, even if limited production. So I would say black and white is a strong segment growing, also in the men's jewelry category, which also includes engagement rings, which we know that, you know, first of all, it's been happening, was this weak signal having a men's engagement ring like few years ago. Now it's becoming mainstream, such, you know, and having Tiffany's or Forever Marks launching engagement rings for men is making a mainstream. That's number one. And that black and white could be black and white pearls and black, could be diamonds, could be enamel, could be many other things. Then we have what is called the bright categories, and definitely contrast, color contrast is very important. By color contrast, I mean the pieces or the color combination that a designer or the designer might choose. Definitely there are like bright contrasts where, you know, in the past were not accepted as now. This trend was already in the high segment of the market pre-pandemic, it didn't come with the pandemic. And when I'm talking about the collectors, I'm talking the high segment. So I can say, you know, emerald in combination with turquoise, or everything that was unexpected, but extremely tasteful, that, you know, I have masters here in design that they're doing it in an incredible way. So it's not a matter of what's trendy, but what's beautifully designed and what's available in terms of gemstones, rarity, and also opportunity. You know, the miners like Gemfield, for instance, or among others, or even like the miners, they push certain stones sometimes because of there is availability, and because of this availability, or maybe limited, you know, production, or you know, it's bringing a certain type of interest. So there is always an overview and overall perspective. And then last but not least, and actually I give a final note, it is what is called bright colors combination. And for bright color, I mean really bright, even sometimes neon colors. And now, for instance, there is an incredible combination between colored gemstones and enamel, or for instance, tone on tone. By tone on tone, I would say that new galvanic technology brought different type of colors, like green color on metal, could be PVD. So technology is enhancing colored gemstones. So you either have the contrast or tone on tone being extremely contemporary and innovative. At the same time, bright enamel in combination with gemstones. It's very important that there is a development of technology which includes gemstones powder, which is included in enamels. And so there is this semi-precious final technology. Last note, which I think is interesting, is a very important marketing operation campaign that, you know, Boucheron launched with holographique. So this holographic finish, what does it mean? It means that there is experimentation, that we are innovating. The rainbow palette is very important. It's also not only in terms of color, but is representing an innovation and a social cultural shifting because of diversity and equality. So rainbow as projection of hope, diversity, acceptance, and last but not least, sustainability.
Well, that's a fabulous answer. Thanks so much for that, Paola. Your mention of rainbow makes me think of a gorgeous piece, a masterpiece, that is now being created by the Roman jeweler, whom you know very well, I'm sure, Alessio Boschi. I was chatting with Alessio earlier today. He's in Thailand. He's working on this gorgeous rainbow-inspired necklace featuring all kinds of colored gemstones, rubelites, tanzanites, huge varieties, citrines. And the idea is partially to make feel better as we, hopefully come out of this pandemic, to bring joy to our lives. And what better way to do that than to really enjoy the blaze of colors that gemstones offer to the jewelry spectrum. So I really loved looking at the picture you showed me earlier today, Alessio, of this piece. I know Alessio is watching us now.
Ciao,
So,
Alessio.
Ciao, Alessio. So I'd like to turn next to Bina again. Bina, obviously there's a lot of focus on the main colored gemstones of rubies, sapphires, and emeralds. But are you seeing rising interest in, say, certain lesser known types of colored gemstones? And if so, which ones?
So the lesser known types, like, spinel, it's been around. There is not that much of it though. It comes from Tajikistan, and there is Paraiba, which is coming from Brazil and Mozambique. So these are not gemstones which normal people knew of, but the color of Paraiba is so interesting that this is what we are teaching now our clients to purchase, because how much of emerald or ruby can you continue to buy, or diamond? So you have to introduce new colors into their palette, so that, and also these gemstones are so striking that almost everything pales in comparison to a Paraiba, I feel. And it was so interesting, David, that a couple of years ago, I used to keep walking at fairs. Couple of years means we've been in the pandemic for 2 years. Now, a couple of years ago, we would walk through fairs and all, and maybe chance upon a couple of Paraibas, which maybe one or two which you would love. The color would be absolutely perfect. And once I got a call from Oman, which is so surprising. And the lady asked for a Paraiba, a no heat Paraiba. And so after huge amount of work, etc., I managed to get that for her, only to realize after I sold her that a no heat is almost an impossibility in Paraiba, because the color is created with heat. So, these are all things which are very important for buyers. But even though the color is created, but to get that exact color is, very difficult. So that aside, there are lots of other colors that I've been a color person since the beginning of my career, and I've never felt challenged. I've always, as you can see, these are some of my simpler pieces. I've always mixed color. As long as you are strong, you give the unexpected, it's the way to go.
How do you see, say, very quickly, the difference between Brazilian Paraiba tourmaline and Mozambican Brazilian tourmaline, say, in terms of color spectrum and desirability on the part of the customer?
So basically then it comes down to how much do they want to spend, right? So for the most perfect color coming from Brazil, this is what it is going to cost. And if you do not want that, then you have this. So it's,
but that would be a neon blue color.
Exactly.
And Paola was referring earlier to the joy of neon.
Yes.
Yeah. So there's a premium for fabulous Brazilian Paraiba tourmaline in the market.
And they all understand. The buyers who are wanting to invest in new material, they all understand. Everybody wants a change. Nobody wants a repetition of what's been going on for the past hundreds of years. So everybody, and especially coming out of the pandemic, I feel that people are going to go bolder and not follow the norms that they used to follow before. Of course, expensive diamonds, high quality diamonds are always in demand. They never go off demand. And according to me today, what I see my clients requesting is it's only the unusual.
Yeah. So Bina, if I could just ask you, Alessio Boschi just put in a question. How is the pandemic affecting the desire for color? I mean, you're at the front line dealing with bespoke clients at the very high end. What is your response to this? So
yes, there is a pandemic. People have been in their houses. They've been cooped up. Now, whether you are big or small or anything, it doesn't matter. But, I feel that is actually what has challenged their minds to going in for strong color. That's actually, the blandness of jewelry has gone. they want to change, they want something dramatic. If they want to invest in it, then it has to be at that level. I only do bespoke, so I really don't know a mass market, how they've been doing, but that's what I feel.
Okay, well, thanks very much. So turning the same question to Alexander, in terms of perhaps the slightly lesser well-known coloured gemstone spectrum, what would you say are particularly increasingly sought after in this period and going forward?
Well, I totally agree with Bina that I think after the pandemic, people just want a bit of escapism. They want bold, they want colourful, and they a lot of people that I know, they've got a bit more money potentially to spend because they haven't been going out very much lately and they haven't been traveling, so they can afford to put some more money into the jewelry, and they can have big bold pieces with lots and lots of color. And so
could you tell us a little bit about this piece that we're seeing now?
So this piece has a tanzanite, a sugarloaf tanzanite in the middle, and then grey diamonds. And it's quite a large, it's quite a big kind of piece of jewelry. It's probably about that big on the hand. So it's a very bold piece. This piece has Brazilian Paraiba tourmalines, and then I've just mixed them in with rose-cut diamonds, tanzanite, sapphires. I use all sorts of gemstones, and I use both Brazilian material with Paraiba and also Mozambique material, and I use the different colors. Sometimes I use a more appley green color like I've done in this piece. Sometimes I use a more neon color, and so I just pick the pieces according to what colors I want. This picture here is my my retail collection, so this is available in a lot of outlets. And so I needed to standardize the use of gemstones, but I still wanted this explosion of color. So these are cheaper gemstones. These are things like amethysts, aquamarines, sapphires, but it was a very useful way of getting some interest into the piece. And these aren't new designs. They're older designs, but they are really proving popular right now because people just want to get some color back into their lives. So that's really helping. And this piece here actually is a Lightning Ridge opal. I'd set with diamonds. It's maybe not the most colorful of the pieces, but it again, it shows you that there's really strong desire. This was done last year. There's a really strong desire for gemstones. And just, I suppose, keepsakes of something of the earth in a way. So people are the other thing actually I'm experiencing is quite a lot of upcycling as well, recycling. Oh, this piece here has a Brazilian Paraiba tourmaline in it, but people are coming in with their gemstones that they've dug out during the lockdown and asked me to mount them for them. So I'm doing a lot of that as well. I think people are really reconnecting with their history and kind of with the planet in a kind of way.
Great. Well, thanks so much, Alex. That's some lovely images of really very lovely colored gemstone set jewelry there. Paola, turning to you on this question, do you see some lesser known colored gemstones coming increasingly to the fore? And if so, which ones and why?
Absolutely, yes. I'd like to start by saying that maybe a little less than 20 years ago, the Grisogono, Fawaz Gruosi, made what was called the black diamonds and brown diamonds popular. Up until then, only white diamonds were considered good diamonds. Everything else was rubbish. So who honored and celebrated what was not popular was a designer and a visionary. So I would say that the winners in this very critical, wonderful, disruptive, historical transition is seeing beauty in rocks. And right now, the auctions are not only in the well-known, certified big rocks, but also in meteorites and minerals. And minerals that were like once discarded, now there are designers that they are creating with, again, what was considered rubbish. So we are seeing again tiger eye, and we are going to see more jasper. The same opals, like a few years ago, were not used. Now the top designers, like the one that you are interviewing today, they are mixing them in combination which were like unexpected. So opals in combination with baguettes or special cut diamonds in combination, even mother of pearls. I mean, mother of pearls was not considered precious. It was considered like, you know, very low end of the market. But what really celebrates the stone or the mineral or any, let's call it, component is the vision, is the designer, is the disruptor. And today there is no limit to, we are going to see unexpected and non-linear breakthrough change in the market from now to the next few years. In the next, actually, you know, few seasons already, we have seen minerals included in jewelry in the medium high, and high segment. Meteorites also will be very, very strong, and there are already incredible results in auctions.
Great, thank you very much. That's very helpful insight there, Paola. Thank you so much for that. I'd now like to sort of personalize the discussion a little bit by asking Bina and then Alex, what are the favorite colored gemstones that they work with? And we'll look at some pictures of the stones as we talk through this. So starting with Bina, tell us a little bit about your favorite gemstones, and tell us a little bit about the picture that we're seeing here.
My favorite gemstone is a Paraiba. My second favorite is rubies, and then emeralds, and then pearls, and then, you know, so on and so forth. So even amber, I love everything. And I love combining different materials with different color, and, you know, that's my space. And what you're seeing over here is a drop of blood. And, you know, it's actually supposed to be in a frozen background of ice, and that's how it would look fantastic. So it's like, also very interestingly, that these are ruby slices. I don't think ruby slices were used before in this manner. And, you know, instead of a pave setting, etc., what we've done over here is, this is actually a 6-year-old piece. What we've done over here is we've taken the ruby slices, we've cut them, we've molded them to get into the shape that we wanted. This is, so as I said, I mix all kinds of material. This is turquoise and emerald, Colombian emerald. And, you know, I have to keep giving color because I love color. And I not only do bespoke, but I do your afternoon. You know, India is very passionate about jewelry. People go for lunch, they want to wear jewelry. They have a prayer meet, they want to wear jewelry. They want to wear jewelry in the evening. At a tea, they want to wear jewelry for a cocktail. They want to wear jewelry for a wedding. So Indians love jewelry. You cannot be, you know, focused on a gemstone or, you know, a type of only high quality gemstones, or you cannot do that because a person cannot keep buying only the highest. So you have to give them a whole range, which, you know, they understand very well because they are investors. They understand what they're investing in, which is going to give them returns, what they're investing in, which is giving them pleasure. So, you know, this is a very beautiful ring. It's got mother of pearl. It's got ruby. The most interesting part about this ring is that big flat ruby. It's a ruby. You know, I buy a lot of ruby rough because of my access to, you know, people who are buying from auctions. And, you know, yes, it's very different from Bangkok, where the rough comes and it's cut according to what you want by the lapidarist next to you, and it's actually pushed into that design as you wish. In India, we do not have these kind of facilities. So to make something like this is very challenging because you have to get the cutter to work alongside with you, with your vision. And I have found the right set of people in rubies, in emeralds, and I'm lucky for that. But I don't think that generally is the case in India, and which is why you see jewelry which is like so simple and not moving forward. I think that's where Thailand has, most of the big jewelers of the world are working from Thailand because that's the facility that they get, you know, so.
Okay, very good. Well, thank you for that. Let's turn to Alex next. Could you tell us, as we look through some of the pictures of your jewellery, Alex, your favorite gemstones that you like working with?
I love Paraiba tourmaline. I do work with that quite a lot. There's so many different stones actually I work with. I tend to go round trawling. I go to places like Tucson to buy gemstones, or Bangkok, or some of the shows in Europe, and I just see what takes my fancy. But I have changed my opinion slightly because I've changed my working methods to a certain degree. I work quite a lot these days with coloured titanium. I don't think we have any pictures of my coloured titanium pieces, but that has forced me to change my palette slightly. So some of the gemstones that I wasn't very interested in before, I didn't used to be terribly interested in rubies and emeralds and sapphires. I found them very, very primary if they're set in white gold or yellow gold. But suddenly, if you put them in coloured titanium, then has a very different effect. And it's like Paola was saying, that the metal around it and the way the stones interact together, produces a whole different effect. So that's changed my opinion, and I really love using those gemstones. But I kind of, generally speaking, have a bit of a kind of Monet impressionist palette. So I love the blues and the purples and the violets and the indigos, but really love so many different gemstones. There aren't many gemstones I don't like. I love using all the different colors. This piece here has a lot of different colors. Are
some gemstones harder to work with than others, Alex?
Yeah, definitely. Some stones are some stones, literally, as you say, actually are harder than others, and the hardness of the gemstones is quite important when it comes into making a piece. And also the quality of the cutting is important, and there are quite a few factors that come into play, so you need to pick them carefully. And then it's just down to the palettes and down to what the vision is and what the customer wants and what ideas I come up with for the pieces.
Very good. So Bina had mentioned the skills in Bangkok in the manufacturing of colored gemstones. Bina, could I ask you, how do you compare Bangkok and Jaipur in terms of the skill sets and the quality of colored gemstone manufacturing, and in which direction are they sort of headed? I mean, do you see, for example, Bangkok coming up fast in this space? What's the outlook for the competition, if you like, between the two centers?
I think, in terms of volume, I think India is very large, and the number of people involved in this trade are huge. And that is separate from what Bangkok has, that limitation. That aside, Jaipur has been doing emeralds since the Maharaja's times, right? So, and they understand the emerald very well. Their techniques are all by hand. It's the skill of the hand, not the skill of the machine, which would be what you would see in Bangkok. The difference here between this and that is maybe in the ruby cutting, in sapphire, in the heating processes of sapphire, where you get strong diffusion in the techniques that they use, because every year they are coming up with some innovation, 2 innovations a year, which is rapid actually. And in that way, they're moving forward technologically very fast. In that, I see an absence where India is concerned, because we do not have those kind of facilities. And because the gem trade is booming in India all the time, people don't feel they need to make that effort and put that out, because they're not going out into the world. They are selling back to Indians in India. So those people are, still in that space, and they're happy to buy. But once you come out into the international world, you're competing with so many people who are doing, very skilled work from, some from Germany, some from here, it's from everywhere in the world. So it's a completely different scene. Where Bangkok is doing very well is they are very particular about work hours, labor. They're not difficult. Whereas in India, it can get very taxing to get people to just come to work systematically every day is a task. You have to, mollycoddle them. most of the
No,
time.
no doubt complicated by the pandemic as well.
Also, and you know, despite the pandemic, I've been having a very good time because my workers are a skilled set of few people and not, you know, so, but what I find challenging is, as I said, that I've done many pieces in emeralds, and it's been a task getting Jaipur to cut according to what your requirement would be. They just don't care. So if your piece will fit into that space, then that's good. Otherwise, it's okay. So, you know, that's not going to happen in Thailand. So if I started a manufacturing facility and if I started work there, you know, I would be able to use titanium, that which is not possible in India because people will not invest. They want to invest primarily in gold. So we have to work very, very hard to achieve the colors that Alexander's talking about with gold itself. You know, the lightness of gold. We have to work with all these, you know, limitations in and manage the best that you can. Yeah.
Well, let me ask Alexander the same question about the comparison between Jaipur and Bangkok as color gemstones manufacturing centers. I know you've been to the Bangkok fair. I mean, what is your impression of Bangkok, and which center is coming up fastest, and in which segments of this market?
I suppose I have slightly limited knowledge of both of these, because all the bespoke jewellery that I do is done here, mostly by myself here in London. But having said that, I've designed collections for other jewellery houses, and we have done manufacture out in both India and in Bangkok. And I certainly find the quality in Bangkok is excellent. Both of the cutting of the gemstones and the manufacture of the jewellery, I personally think that the quality of jewellery that can be produced in Bangkok is as good as anywhere in the world, potentially better than a lot of places in the world. And indeed, a lot of the jewellery houses in Europe are actually having their jewellery made in Thailand. They might be saying that it's, or leading people to believe that it's from Europe, but it is often made in Thailand, and the quality is fantastic. The pieces that I've had done in India have been good too. When I tend to be buying gemstones, I feel like the Thai stones are cut very, very well. The Indian stones are cut more naturalistically. So if that suits the piece that I'm making, then that's fine. But if I want precision, and a lot of my work is quite geometric, so I often do want the precision, and so Thailand is excellent for those purposes. And they have their outfits over there have all the technology that you could want in the world. They're very, very advanced, and they kind of really get what we're putting over with our designs. So I find them quite easy to work with over there.
And Paola, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, you know, I do have decent experience with Indian manufacturing, but in this particular case, I'd like to compare Thailand with India, which is not, Thailand is not Jaipur. Jaipur is one city in India which is specialized with certain type of product and jewelry, which are the most traditionally, and they have an incredible handmade craftsmanship skill. Now, if you want to get into production and study mass production or medium and very good high production, you go to Mumbai, which Bina is very familiar with, and you go to SIPS. Now, I am very familiar with Indian manufacturers, and I have to say that, of course, I'm very close to GJPC, which has been investing for like decades on educating their peers and their manufacturers, where there are
just to be clear for everybody, that's the India's Gem and Jewellery Export Promotion Council, which is a state-backed arm that promotes exports of gemstones and jewellery from India.
From India, and their basically responsibility is to help the Indian jewelers to export by supporting and educating the segment. Of course, like Bina said, you know, is a huge country. I mean, it's a continent. I mean, it's not like a little island. You know, it's a huge country, and their volume is amazing because number one, their internal market, it's already plenty for, they don't even need to export. But the exporter, they do produce for top jewelers internationally. some from Italian manufacturers, British designers, American designers, and I've seen their pieces produced in India at SIPS. Now, of course, I'm not going to disclose, the companies nor their clients, but I can tell you that I have been going to India for the last 20 years of my life. And 20 years ago, because the Americans were very meticulous about their large production and very standardized, they would create team within their factories, just working on one particular client, making sure the hand would be consistent within that production or product categories. And they have actually screens where they basically are timing and showing every step of production for producing a ring, a bracelet. So they are constantly trained workers, and they know exactly how long does it take from one phase to the other one. So I would say that India, and is the beauty of India, is a paradox. Because you might go from places where people might sit on the floor to cut gemstones, and then you have high-tech, companies and facilities like Imaginarium, for instance, that they do amazing things. So India right now, let's not forget that the Indians are hired as top executive and work for Google's, Amazon. High-tech is developed there. So I would say that India is the beauty of the extreme. They are doing things that they were doing thousands of years ago and keep doing it the same way. And that's the beauty, because that's what they like and that's what they want. At the same time, people like Bina, but she is a niche, a large niche. I would say that designers in India, the jewelry designers are amazing, and bespoke designers are amazing. Servicing, let's say, creating for the elite, which is maybe 5%, but 5% in India, it's like Italy. That's pretty much it in terms of numbers. You know what I mean? So that's and Thailand, on the other hand, they are extremely punctual, extremely precise, the only thing that sometimes I miss in Thai production, even though then I have people like Alessio Boschi and also Gibbe Darida for Marina B and other designers, they're producing their own location on site, and otherwise product is cold. Sometimes when it's too industrialized, when it's too machine made, it loses the soul, it loses the handmade, the human touch, which the Indian product, even though it's imperfect, sometimes, it's very warm, it's very empathic, it calls you. So the Thai production is amazing when they have incredible designers, makers, that they sit with the worker and they are transferring the soul, the human touch to the perfect product. A perfect product with no soul, it's cold, there is no value. It's just grams and carats. Sorry that I'm very passionate about this, but I know both manufacturing areas very well.
And I saw a comment. Norman Sue says Paola's making some very good points, so you're fine, Paola. Okay, very good. There is the question of the market for color gemstone set jewellery. I'd like to ask Bina, what is your view on what are the key factors underpinning the market for high-end colored gemstone set jewelry, especially during this pandemic, extraordinarily turbulent period of world history? It's been notable that the high-value jewellery and gemstone auctions during this period have seen some very strong results in online sales. The Sotheby's and Christie's auctions and Bonhams have all done extremely well. I remember that in around April 2020, shortly after the start of the pandemic, a Cartier Tutti Frutti bracelet from the Art Deco period around 1930 sold for a world record price for any piece of jewellery sold online. Bina, what are your thoughts on the factors that are underpinning the market for high-end colored gemstone jewellery, and what is the outlook as well? And also, what kind of colored gemstones are outperforming others? I mean, do you see certain types of gems that are doing particularly, that are really rising in price much more than others?
So, a simple answer to this would be, just let's take Mozambique, for instance. What I bought Mozambique rubies at 2 years back, I'm literally paying 4 times, 5 times the price, and still not able to get that. I'm looking for, material that I got so easily before, which is not available anymore. And, there's a limitation in availability of everything. And whether it be emerald, like Jaipur is known as the hub of emeralds, for the world. But I have been in Jaipur just a month ago, and I have tried my level best to see what I could, and it was so difficult. Bogota, as you know, is in a difficult situation. There's a civil uprising over there and all over the world. So material has not been coming in, because of which, and people are not able to access clients, but clients still have the money to spend. And because of the power that they have, the money actually is meaningless if you're not purchasing something with it. So that's why auctions during pandemic have done brilliantly well. And, there's a lot of focus on the auction because people are not distracted with 20,000 other things which are going on. Everybody's been basically at home. And
could I just quickly ask you, Bina, a follow-up question? In general, I mean, there is a great deal of political upheaval in Myanmar and in Afghanistan right now. Both countries are important sources of coloured gemstones. Myanmar is particularly well known, of course, as a source of fabulous rubies. What impact do you see this political convulsion in those two countries as having on the market for certain types of coloured gemstones? I mean, presumably the supply may be tighter?
So, David, what happens is that Myanmar, always there was a problem. It's been under military rule for so long. Now, even more so, because now it's become even more difficult with the uprising that's going on over there. You have such a limited stock of rubies from Burma of high quality, right? And most of the stock people are depending upon is what is already with them. The traders have already got that with them, and that's what they're selling. There's nothing new that's moving around. There's nothing that is coming out of mines. Very briefly, people started going to Bogota in between when the pandemic was a little quieter. And again, that's over because, again, there's some kind of uprising there. That's the case. It's like for every gemstone, wherever it is coming from, it's not been a great place. So, mining has not happened for so long. Smaller parcels, higher values are being achieved with, auctions and auction houses. So it's been a difficult time. It's very challenging to try and get, there's something very interesting that
let me ask Alexander for his thoughts, if you like to extend what you're saying. You're talking about the fact that there has been a tightening of supply of newly mined coloured gemstones from some of these origin countries in this period. Alexander, do you sense that this could potentially mean that in the high value auctions market, like the magnificent jewellery auctions held in places like Geneva, staged by Sotheby's and Christie's, that buyers and collectors will increasingly be looking to buy estate jewellery pieces or historic jewellery pieces, if you like, that contain high coloured gemstones in order to tap into some kind of a supply?
Yeah, I think so. I think you have to divide things into two kind of categories. I mean, I'm a designer, so I'm selling things on a day-to-day kind of basis, but I do go to those auctions in Geneva. And what I notice when I'm there is that those are investors. They're buying for an investment. They couldn't really care less about the jewelry. They're actually thinking, can I make a profit on this? And if you look at other things, cars, for example, there's just been a big auction in Monterey in California, and the prices achieved for some special cars it has gone up enormously. People are looking at where can they invest. down at my level, things are a little bit different. And I'm actually saying to customers, because I do have a secondary market for my pieces, but I'm saying to customers, don't buy these pieces because you want to invest. Buy them because you like them as a piece of jewelry, almost as a piece of art. You know, don't buy my piece with the idea that you're going to sell it down the line. I want you to keep this piece for life. So there's a little bit of a difference, a conflict going on there. But I definitely think at the high end of the auction market, people are looking to invest in, and there's lots of people with a lot of money who've done very well over the last few years, and they want to put their money somewhere, and coloured gemstones is a great place to put it.
Yeah, I mean, I think in the early period of the pandemic or of the lockdowns, at that time, there was huge uncertainty over what the impact would be of the virus on stock markets and on housing markets. And I think there was perhaps to some degree a movement of investing in collectibles, including very high-end colored gemstone set jewelry. Our hour is rapidly coming to an end, so I'm going to have to speed this up. I'm going to change subject a little bit and move on to sustainability, because sustainability, it strikes me, is a key concern or sentiment in the minds of many buyers of colored gemstone set jewelry. So I'd like to turn to Paola next, if I may, and ask Paola what she feels about the way in which the sustainability or the desire for a responsibly managed supply chain, how the consumer is going to increasingly demand sustainability in colored gemstone set jewelry in the future.
Sustainability is our present and it is our future, not only in gemstones, but in general. So we must, and we are slowly but surely, let's say, assimilating in understanding what sustainability, but also what is going to be the circular economy and circular design. So let's get into the gemstones. I, of course, have been very active lately in this field, in this sector, thanks also to an invitation that I received from RJC with Iris van Decken in collaborating with them. And I've been very active now also with the European Institute of Design, with circular design teaching and so on. But the point that I think we will have, the challenge that we are facing, will be facing, it is how do we really measure sustainability and good practices? Because the truth of the matter is, up until now, it's a very good marketing propaganda, but the truth of the matter is, from now on, what's going to happen, it is we need to be all educated, starting from the consumers, to the retailers, to the manufacturers, and to the designer. So the whole supply chain, starting from the end users and consumers, should know exactly what does it mean and how do they really can measure the sustainable practices of a company. Because until now, it's a series of, natural, shooting and a very beautiful word, but very few companies, they are really doing the whole exercise from beginning to the end. So in this field, I'm very, very strict and maybe I will be unpopular, maybe popular that I'm saying that, but because it is something serious. So there are companies in our industry and every industry that they've been doing upcycling, like Alexander was mentioning, and recycling. I would say that maybe, and this is something that I think is nice, the jewelry industry has been upcycling and recycling for centuries, because we've been recycling gold, we've been recycling gems, we've been upcycling gemstones and components and material for centuries without even realizing that we were sustainable. But now sustainable implies the 3 Ps: people, planet, and profits. And unless these 3 elements are combined in the vision of sustainability, either it is gemstones or finished product or governance and management within a company, it's a lie. And we cannot lie anymore because the pandemic is a sign and climate change is a sign of something that is inevitable unless we change it. So it's very nice to say, I am sustainable, but then I don't want to spend any money on anything. And then who's paying the bill? Who's paying the bill, or the poor person that is digging in a mine? Who's paying the bill or feeding a worker? Who's paying the bill if a designer is unable to pay in an equal way, with dignity, their employees? So we want beauty and we don't want to pay. So maybe it's about less is more, and it's about quantitative versus qualitative. And so that's my line for gemstones, because I think that's what the future is now. That's my line.
So just to take that one step further, if I may ask Bina, sometimes one wonders if sustainability is very much a concern of consumers in the rich, developed part of the world. What's your sense about customers in India and their sensibility to sustainability? Are they right up there with the customers in New York City, or is there a way to go yet?
No, I think we have a long way to go. Sustainability has to be taught by us, who are the interface between the mine, the gem cutters, the craftsmen who are working, and the customer. It is for us, if we manage this side and we have somehow achieved some level of sustainability. I don't think, as you know, the more we mine, the worse it's getting. So, and also going backward, there was a lot more material availability. When I tell the clients, see, this is not available in this volume, they don't get it, because they think, oh, she's able to fish it all out. But, very interestingly, I'll say something that, it's not like you go hunting, you look at something and you get it. There is that many things to get. Today is like going fishing. You put your rod in and you just wait to see what catch you get. It's so little, right? Already it's so little. So what we can do is, as Paola said, we recycle material. But when there is extreme craftsmanship in that, that's also not a possibility, because then you're, so where clients have to understand that instead of buying more, buy less, buy sensibly, and be sustainable. When you wear the piece, you have to know that you have given back to so many people a livelihood. Absolutely. It's not the beauty of the piece, it's the livelihood Absolutely. Of so many in this industry who are, struggling to be. So that's what I feel.
Thank you. And last word to Alexander as our hour comes to an end. On sustainability, Alexander, what are your thoughts on how it will evolve? And also, what is your own sort of strategy to sustainability as Alexander Davis Jewellery? Do you do everything possible to responsibly source and manage the supply chain of coloured gemstones that will feature in your pieces?
Well, firstly, I agree with everything that's been said, and I definitely agree that it's so much about educating the consumer, because a lot of the time they don't know and they don't ask. I mean, when you last went shopping for clothes, did you ask where the fabric came from? It's all about understanding this supply chain. But I feel that with my own customers, they are expecting things to be sustainable. And if they don't ask me about it, it's probably that it wasn't on their mind. They didn't think of it, but they would definitely expect everything that I supply to be sustainable. Am I 100% sure that every gemstone that I bought has been sustainably sourced? No, I'm not really. And I find it hard sometimes to ask the suppliers about what the origins are, because it's a commercial, it's kind of confidential, commercially confidential. So it's a difficult process, but I think all the time things are getting clearer for people. It is a bit of a conflict, because on the one hand you want to seem to be sustainable, but on the other hand you can't divulge your commercial information, because that's how you keep in business. So it is a tricky conundrum. but all the time it's getting better and better, and I'm just trying to do the best that I can to make sure that I know where things are coming from. And of course, I'm making a lot of stuff myself and doing a lot of upcycling and those kind of things. So I try to, within myself, be sustainable, but we just hope that we can keep going. And as Paola said, jewelry's been recycled for thousands of years, so it's really the most sustainable product, really, in a way. So that's fantastic already.
Great. Well, thanks so much.
One last note.
Okay, go ahead.
Just one last note. It's going to be brief. I want to say that having global platforms like GemBridge or whatever, global platform that gives some kind of global exposure will help to be sustainable, because things are more in the scene and in the knowledge, and so we'll be more transparent. That's it. Thank you. Sorry.
Thanks very much, Paola. Paola, referring to GemBridge there, GemBridge, of course, is a digital colored gemstone trading platform, which is right at the forefront of the digital transformation of colored gemstone trading. There are companies like Jewelers Circle and GemCloud also, which are spearheading the capability to source gemstones digitally trading. And the point about such platforms is that you trust these platforms as the intermediary to provide exactly what they say they are providing. They are showcasing the description of some very high-end colored gemstones accurately with very precise photography. You trust the gemstone, you trust the transaction. This is one of the key areas in which the whole colored gemstone trade is moving into now. So thank you for that mention, Paola. I'd just like to thank you so much for joining us today. Our hour is up with an extra minute on top. I'd like to thank very much, firstly, Bina Goenka, very distinguished jeweler from Mumbai, for joining us, to Alexander Davis, who has a lovely boutique to showcase his jewelry in Duke Street in Mayfair in London, and is a very distinguished designer. Thank you very much, Alexander. And last but definitely not least, Paola De Luca, creative director and visionary in luxury. Thank you so much, Paola, for joining us today. Really enjoyed the discussion. Thanks, everybody. Do watch out for the next Jewelry Outlook webinar. Goodbye.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, David. Thank you, Alexander. Thank you, Paola. Thank you, everybody who's watched today. And thank you for having us.
It was an honor to be with you all. Thank you, and have a wonderful rest of the summer. Ciao.
Bye.